Hello, my name is Camille Wiseman, and today we will be dissecting a sheep's brain. And that's what this is right here. What you're looking at is the left hemisphere of a sheep's brain. So the first things we're going to look at are actually just the lobes. So here we have the frontal lobe, the parietal lobe, the temporal lobe, and the occipital lobe. And then looking at the back here, you can see the cerebellum. So here we have the cerebrum, and looking at it from my angle, I see the left and right hemispheres. And going down the middle is called the longitudinal fissure. And actually, when I dissected it, you can see that it's actually kind of like a hard, a little bit of like a harder texture that goes all the way down and separates the both hemispheres, or kind of brings them together. And next, we have the not the cerebral hemispheres. We're going to look at the lateral sulcus, which divides the lobes of the temporal and parietal. And that one is right down here. So you can see the temporal is down here, the parietal is above. And what this lobe does is it's one of the earliest developing sulci of the human brain. Next, I'm going to be showing you the cerebellum, which under this flap is this back piece here. And then looking kind of at the bottom half, we have the pons and the medulla oblongata. Taking the brain and looking at it on the ventral side kind of looks funny. Up here we have the olfactory bulbs and olfactory tract that kind of leads them to the front of the head. The optic nerves are these on both sides. And then towards the middle, that's what's called the optic chiasm. And then the cerebral peduncle, which are kind of like these holes halfway towards like the back in the brain. And then looking at the pituitary gland, you can see it's this kind of pinkish light colored nub in the middle. Staying on this ventral view of the brain, I'm going to point out the cranial nerves. And the first is going to be the ocular motor nerve here, number 3. Down to the left is the trochlear, number 4 here. Then looking to here, we have the adducens, which is number 5. And then just kind of behind that here is going to be your 5th cranial nerve, which is the trigeminal. And those are your nerves of the brain. Looking again at a better picture, kind of blown up, as I showed the 3rd cranial nerve, and down here we have the 4th, 6th, and 5th nerves, and that I showed them this way. Those are the cranial nerves. Now we're going to look at the sagittal view, and up here we can see is the cerebrum. Here, this line, kind of like curvature formation, is called the corpus callosum. Below that, this more darker portion is called the fornix. The lateral ventricle is here, and then it moves into the 3rd and the 4th ventricles. Next is looking at the intermediate mass of the thalamus, and that we can see is down here. The cerebral peduncle is in here in this fold. The pons is here, and the medulla oblongata is this line here, this kind of curvature in the brain. And then, as I stated, the 4th ventricle is here, and the 3rd is here. The corpora quadrigemini is behind this round fold, and as we will show in the next portion, that it's separated into superior and inferior portions. Finally, the last two are the cerebellum with the arbor vitae, and that's probably my favorite part. And as you can see, there's all these grooves, kind of like a tree branch or like a fan, and this white matter that's in the middle, and that's exactly what the arbor vitae are. They're white matter that bring to and from sensory functions information. And last is the pineal body, and the pineal body can be found right here, just behind the corpora quadrigemini. Next, we'll be looking at the dorsal deep structures of the midbrain that we will be able to see when we gently separate the cerebrum from the cerebellum by lifting up on the occipital lobes and pushing down on the brainstem. And there you will see exactly what we're looking for, the corpora quadrigemini. And what we found in here is the left and right superior colliculi, here and here, superior, and then lower inferior colliculi. And then finally on top of it is called the pineal body, which is located anterior to the colliculi. And that is your midbrain.